What if the love story that shaped the galaxy far, far away was not between Anakin Skywalker and Padme Amidala, but Anakin Skywalker and Jedi Knight Aayla Secura? Could this unexpected romance have prevented the rise of Darth Vader, or would it have sped up Anakin's descent into the darkness? Anakin knew of Aayla Secura during his time as a Padawan, but never interacted with her until the Clone War. She was a Twi'lek, known for their striking blue skin and radiant beauty, and she was no exception. Anakin of course had taken notice of this, however, he's already committed to his wife. Anakin first fights alongside Aayla Secura when he's called to assist her forces in the Battle of Cal. Her ship had come under attack and her flagship Liberty began falling through the atmosphere and was under siege by droids. The situation was looking dire until Anakin and his forces arrived to rescue her. She thought all hope was lost until the famed Anakin Skywalker moved in front of her to blast a fire that would surely have caused her death. She looks upon Anakin, who stands there stoic. His strength and power in the Force is captivating, and she wouldn't be alive without him. She felt an unfamiliar warmth bloom within her, a powerful emotion she couldn't immediately name. Could she be developing feelings for General Skywalker? She doesn't have time to think on this, and had to focus as they weren't safe yet. The droids were destroying her ship, and they had to escape to Skywalker's cruiser if they wanted to leave with their lives. But there were too many droids, and they weren't going to make it. They looked behind to see a red-hot fireball heading their way that would surely engulf them. But in a flash, without thinking of himself, Anakin uses the Force to push Secura, Ahsoka, and their clones onto his ship, and turns back to block the explosion. Aayla was awestruck as she watched Anakin put all his effort into protecting them. She had never seen courage, but also selflessness like this before. The explosion breaks through and sends Anakin flying back unconscious. Secura panics and reaches out with the Force to pull Anakin onto their ship. The ship detached just in time, and Aayla immediately took Anakin to the medical bay, anxiously watching as droids worked to stabilize him. She was very aware of her own pounding heart in her chest. For a Jedi, attachments were dangerous, yet the fear gripping her as she watched Anakin's unconscious body contradicted every aspect of this. The complex swirl of emotions she felt, admiration, gratitude, and newfound vulnerability, was both confusing but undeniable. She found herself drawn to Anakin's courage, selflessness, and heroism, which has sparked the love inside of her. Their hyperdrive was damaged in the explosion, and they were forced to crash land on the planet Meriden. There, Aayla cares for Anakin, helping to nurse him back to health, but also looks after his apprentice, Ahsoka, keeping her safe. He regains consciousness for the first time, and the first thing he sees is Secura's face hovering above him. For a moment, time seems to freeze. Her luminous eyes and thermal beauty captivate him in a way he wasn't expecting. It's a jarring, almost disorientating sensation, but he forces himself to snap back to reality and sits up. Aayla gives him a brief rundown of what's happened. They've taken refuge at a local village, but before they can continue, Rex approaches and reports the Separatist forces have landed and are testing out new weaponry on the innocent villagers. Anakin stands up, still heavily injured, and Secura urges him to rest, but Anakin won't back down and let innocent villagers die. His commitment to justice is inspiring, and only reinforces to Secura how she's begun to feel. They fight the Separatists, who've attacked the villagers. Anakin realizes he's operating at a mere fraction of his usual strength, but as he fights, his eyes are drawn to Secura as he watches, mesmerized as she moves with an elegant grace, fighting valiantly, carving her saber through droids whilst protecting the villagers. Anakin watches in amazement, her elegance and beauty catching his eye. He'd noticed her beauty before, but seeing her in action this close was totally different. He couldn't shake his awareness of Aayla's presence, and his perception of her developed inside of him, transforming his admiration into something far more complex and potent. Little did he know, the seeds of love were planted in the fertile soil of his conflicted soul. In the next 6 months, they fought side by side many times. Aayla, who's sure of her love for Anakin, requested for their forces to be assigned together. She told the council their battle strategies and tactics complemented each other. However, this was a white lie, and she secretly wanted to be closer to the man she loved. Not only did Secura's feelings develop during this time, so did Anakin's. He felt different when around her, similar to how he felt around Padme in the early days of their relationship, but far stronger. They find themselves working closely together, sharing the front lines, facing danger and adversity side by side. But Secura also becomes a mentor to Ahsoka, who teaches her valuable lessons about the nuances of the Force, and she quickly grows to admire and trust Aayla, finding her a motherly figure she didn't realize she needed. This relationship didn't go unnoticed by Anakin, who finds the connection between Aayla and his apprentice affirming, further deepening his own complex feelings towards her. However, their relationship wouldn't undergo its turning point until the first battle of Felucia. Anakin and Aayla led their forces against the treacherous General Grievous, but the natural terrain of Felucia was unforgiving. The forests were dense, and the caves deep within, which made the assault extremely difficult. Anakin and Secura led a small squad to take out the Separatist power generators, but they were detected and the droid commander wasted no time in bombing their position. Little did they know, they were over a deep ravine, and the bombs destroyed the ground below them. The surface cracked, and they instantly fell into the deep cave system below. The clones were crushed, but Anakin and Aayla used the Force to prevent the same fate, but are ultimately trapped underground. They put their minds together, and Anakin goes to use his saber to start cutting away the rocks. However, Secura stops him and tells Anakin the caves below are filled with flammable gas, and the second he ignites his lightsaber, he'll light them both on fire. They attempt to use the Force to move the rocks around them, but it's impossible. The weight of them is too strong, and moving them will only cause more to collapse. They are stuck, and the only hope of survival is if someone finds them. 3 days pass by, and it's not looking good. They can feel the oxygen slowly running out, and are clutching onto the straws of life. Sitting next to each other in the cave, both have accepted their death is inevitable now. In this moment of vulnerability, they begin thinking back on their lives. Were they happy? Have they lived them to the fullest? Do they have any regrets? They open up to each other about their desires, doubts, and hopes. Secura details her disillusionment with the Jedi Order's philosophy on attachments, and admits to Anakin, although the last 6 months have been riddled with war, they've been the best 6 months of her life, as she's been by her lover's side the entire time. Anakin looks her directly in the eyes, and admits he's also developed feelings, but reveals he has a wife, but has begun to drift away from her since the beginning of the war, as he never sees her. He tells Secura, being with Padme feels like clinging to a fragment of a past life, but being with her, even in this dire situation, feels undeniably pleasant. He continues saying his feelings aren't something he can continue to ignore, and if these are his final moments, he wants to spend them in truth, and tells her he loves her. They lose themselves in each other's eyes, as Anakin moves and kisses Aayla, cementing their feelings for each other. As Anakin pulls away, a blinding light fills the cave, and the two of them separate to see Ahsoka and Obi-Wan with the life support team walking towards them. They spend the next day in the medical facility and discuss the events in the cave, but both say they believe everything that was said. Anakin asks Aayla if she wants to be with him, who says she does, but first he must separate from his wife. After the campaign is a success, they travel back to Coruscant, and Anakin goes to his and Padme's house. She goes to hug Anakin when she sees him, who stops her and looks away. He tells Padme that he can't keep doing this, that their time apart has changed him, and he's no longer the same person he was when they first married, and his feelings have changed. Padme looks at him, her eyes searching his face for answers, and any trace of the man she fell in love with. Tears begin to roll down her cheeks as she asks if it's over. He nods and tells Padme he's sorry. He never meant for this to happen, but they can't keep lying to themselves. He turns and leaves as Padme's tears occupy his ears. He travels to the Jedi Temple and visits Aayla in her room. They hug as he tells the Twi'lek they can finally be together. They have no choice but to keep their relationship secret, but continue to be assigned with each other so they can remain together in battle. On the way back from a mission on Dantooine, Anakin and Aayla make a slight diversion to a secluded temple on Kashyyyk, far from the prying eyes of the Jedi Council. They stand across from each other, hand in hand, and recite their vows as the local priestess reads them out. As they slipped rings onto each other's fingers, a profound sense of happiness washed over them both. They sealed their union with a kiss and felt as if nothing could ruin what they had. They are now husband and wife. The first 4 months of their relationship go smoothly, and Anakin believes Aayla is the balancing force he's always needed. However, This changes when they are on Umbara, sleeping in their hut, when Anakin falls into a deep dream, where he watches Aayla become wounded in battle and eventually die, himself nowhere to be found. He's thrust wide awake, sweating profusely, and Secura comforts him and asks what's happened. Anakin reluctantly describes his dream, as she tells him it's just that, a dream. Anakin brushes it off, until it happens again only nights later. However, it was more vivid this time, and exactly like the dreams he had of his mother before her death. This has Anakin extremely panicked. Could history be repeating itself? Will Secura share the same fate as his mother? He cannot let this happen. Aayla knows Anakin is powerful and has the ability to sometimes peer into the future. However, she assured Anakin that the future is not set in stone, that it might be showing him a future that will not occur. But Anakin is skeptical and is determined to save her from this mysterious fate. The dreams continue for the next 8 months, and Anakin slowly changes. He promised himself years ago that he'd become stronger to prevent those he cares about from dying, and recent events have fed into these insecurities and only exacerbated his obsession to protect his loved ones, fueling a sense of desperation and urgency, as Aayla is at the forefront of this mission. Watching his wife die over and over again slowly builds up the fear and pulls him towards the dark side. They heightened his existing fear of loss and abandonment, deeply rooted from his past experiences of leaving his mother and the slave life on Tatooine. During these 8 months, Palpatine is carefully manipulating Anakin. He knows he's under immense turmoil due to his nightmares, because he's the one giving them to him. All this in an effort to bring the Chosen One to his side. Over the course of these 8 months, the dreams slowly change, making them more intense until one night where the dreams change completely. Anakin sees himself on the ground, defeated but alive, unable to do anything, as a hooded man with a green lightsaber plunges it through Ayla's chest. Anakin's thrust wide awake, alone, breathing heavily as Ayla's currently on a solo mission. Anakin panics. There must be a reason his dream changed so significantly. Might the events he sees be carried out soon? And in his dream, he's too weak, not strong enough to save her. He can't live without Secura, and he must find a way to save her. Everything was going to Palpatine's plans, as he sensed the fear leeching off Skywalker. Anakin spends days searching the Jedi archives for answers, techniques to become powerful, and even that which can save people from death. However, he finds nothing of substance, only things he's already learned as a Padawan. But that night, Palpatine invites Anakin to the opera and tells him the tale of Darth Plagueis the Wise, the Sith Lord that had achieved the power over life and death, and could save those he cared about from dying. This piqued Anakin's interest, so a Force technique did exist, and therefore he'd have to learn it. However, Palpatine tells him it's a technique that can only be learned as a Jedi. He did this intentionally to make Anakin question himself internally. Would he use the dark side if it meant he could save his wife? He knew the answer and what to do next. The next day, he goes back to the archives and attempts to go to the restricted section, but is stopped by Jocasta Nu. He then goes to his master, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and asks if he can sneak him into the restricted section, and tells him there's simply knowledge he wants to learn. But this request is denied. Anakin is panicked, he's running out of options, and at this rate, he won't be able to save his wife. The next day, he's venting his problems to Palpatine, who senses the time is ready. The dreams he's planted have been perfect, but now it's time to act. Anakin tells Palpatine he needs to get stronger, and needs this fast, who replies by telling him he can help. Anakin looks at him confused, and Palpatine tells Anakin he needs to understand a wider aspect of the Force to achieve his goals. Anakin asks how he knows about the Force, who tells the boy he knows everything about it, even the depths of the dark side. Anakin struggles to hide his shock, but Palpatine continues, telling him that the only way to save his wife is to embrace the dark side of the Force to unlock the power he requires. Anakin ignites his blade, and the events here are similar to the original timeline. Anakin doesn't outright join Palpatine, and tells him he will learn the truth soon, after he turns him over to the Jedi Council. Anakin leaves, confused as ever. Palpatine has the power he seeks, but is the Sith Lord they've been looking for. He goes to the council chambers immediately to find Yoda, Obi-Wan, Mace Windu, Shakti, but also his wife, Aayla Secura, who's just come back from her mission. She goes to rush over to Anakin, but stops herself as she doesn't want to reveal their relationship. but everyone in the room can tell something is wrong as Anakin rushes in breathing and sweating heavily. Windu asks Anakin what's wrong, who tells them the truth. Palpatine is the Sith Lord they've been looking for. Shock encompasses all of their faces, and they ask Anakin how he knows this, who tells them he told him himself, and asked Anakin to join him. Windu tells them they must act immediately, but before he moves, he stops and asks Anakin why Palpatine would think he would join him. Anakin's eyes flash over to Aayla, and then moves away. She knows what Anakin is thinking. He must have told Palpatine he wanted to get stronger, who offered to help him. But as she thinks this, everything becomes clear in her mind. Aayla has read the Sith holocrons in the Jedi Archives restricted section as she's a master, and remembers the section about how some Sith have the ability to plant visions and dreams in one's mind, and Palpatine must be doing this to Anakin. But because he's never been in the restricted section, he does not know this. She had to bring it up, as it would change their course of action. She thinks about how to do this, and knows she can't without revealing their relationship. She tells Anakin in front of everyone that they need to tell the truth. The fate of the galaxy resides on what they do next. Anakin doesn't know what Ayla's thinking, but he trusts her, as she explains everything to the Jedi, about their relationship, to Anakin's nightmares, his desires for power to save her, and ultimately turns to Anakin and tells him she thinks Palpatine is planting those visions in his mind. Anakin's shocked to hear this, but when he thinks about it, it makes sense. They talk about the dark side power to plant dreams in one's mind, and concludes Palpatine is doing this to Anakin. Yoda tells them they'll deal with their relationship later, but now they all must go to confront the Chancellor. Windu and Yoda walk into Palpatine's office first, followed by Anakin, Aayla, Obi-Wan, and Shakti. Palpatine turns his chair and is shocked to see so many. He was sure Anakin would join him, but so be it. He attempts to catch the Jedi off guard and blasts lightning at them, and the room erupts into a mighty duel. Windu and Yoda hold their ground, parrying and dodging the Sith Lord's relentless attacks, while Shakti and Obi-Wan stay on the outside and watch for any of Palpatine's tricks. Anakin's eyes met Ayla's in the battle, and his determination grows stronger. He sees his opportunity as Palpatine drops his guard as he attempts to blast Yoda with lightning. Seizing the opportunity, Anakin lunges forward with his lightsaber. Palpatine sees this attack and goes to pull his blade into block, but the youthful Skywalker is too fast, and he thrusts his blade right through Palpatine's chest. The Sith Lord's eyes widen in disbelief as his lightning flickers out, his plans undone by the very apprentice he sought to corrupt. Anakin rushes over and hugs Aayla, victorious. A few days later, after the Jedi had taken over the Senate in this transitory period, Anakin and Secura stood in front of the council to determine their fate. Secura speaks up first, as she tells the council her philosophy, that their attachments to each other have not weakened them, but made them stronger, more compassionate and attuned to the Force. It gives them something to fight for, more than a duty or obligation. Love can be a Jedi's strength, not a weakness. They were convincing to each other, but the council didn't change their ways. They were too dogmatic and old-fashioned. Windu stands and asks them to renounce their relationship here and now, and they obviously don't. Windu has no choice and tells them they will be expelled from the Jedi Order. Anakin and Aayla glance at each other. They expected this outcome, but were okay with it, as long as they could be together. Their job as Jedi was over. They won, and now must walk a different path. One day, Padme Amidala sits in her office as she reads the Holo News article that had just broken the story about Anakin and Ayla's secret marriage. Her eyes quickly scanned the text, but lingered on the embedded image of the two Jedi, their faces riddled with joy and happiness. A blend of emotions washed over her face, betrayal, shock, and loss that hurt her physically. Yet amidst the turmoil, there was also a trace of relief, as if a long, lingering uncertainty had just been settled and found clarity in this. She looked out of her window at the sprawling Coruscant skyline and understood that her own destiny, although entangled with Anakin for so long, would now follow a separate path. Anakin and Aayla spend some time traveling and exploring the galaxy together, experiencing all its wonders, but eventually decide to settle on Ayla's homeworld Ryloth, where they are welcomed by the Twi'lek community. Amidst the mesmerizing hues of Ryloth's purple skies and majestic rock formations, they build a loving home away from the politics and battles that once consumed their lives. Soon enough, they welcome children into their family, who inherit both their parents' resilience and affinity for the Force. Anakin finds peace he never thought possible, finally free from the weight of his destiny and fears that once haunted him. His mother would be happy and proud. Aayla too finds fulfillment, not just as a mother, but as a mentor within her community, as they both explore what it meant to live a life balanced between love, individuality, and a broader sense of responsibility to the universe. In the beauty and tranquility of Ryloth, they discover their own version of a happy ever after, deeply in love and bound by commitment that no order could ever understand. If you enjoyed this video, you have to watch What if Anakin fell in love with Ahsoka, and what if Ahsoka died during the Clone War. Thanks for watching everyone, I really appreciate your support, and continue to leave your thoughts and ideas in the comments, and may the Force be with you.